Hey everybody, it's Jim here, and it has been a long time since I have made one of these videos, and I'm excited to make a few more to celebrate the end of the year and a few guitars that have come and gone. Today's guitar is going to be the Paul Reed Smith McCarty Blue S2 McCarty 594. Now, at the time when I decided to purchase this guitar, I think I had been through 3 or 4 Les Pauls that were not the, inspiring ones that you hear about, the magic ones, and I was kind of over it. I had been exploring a little bit more into the Japanese world of their Les Pauls, and I had a really good experience with the custom 24 10 top that I sold, and I was really into the CE24 at the time. So when I saw this pop up on Reverb in this color, knowing how limited it was, good weight to it, 8.4 pounds. That top was to die for. I said, let's give Paul Reed Smith a try in this category. I mean, how bad could it really be, right? So the guitar shows up, I open it up, and it is, as advertised, it is a stunner. The absolute quality that you get with a Paul Reed Smith instrument when you buy it new and it's made in America is just remarkable, man. This thing was put together so well. Every little detail was like pristine. There wasn't any issues in any of the binding. All the frets were perfectly level. It played like absolute butter. I didn't even plug it in at first. I just sat there strumming it with open chords. It had a good resonance to it. It felt familiar. I wasn't used to the belly cut on a Les Paul, but I was very happy with it. But this guitar got thrown right into the Shark Tank. 2 days after I purchased this guitar, I brought it into the recording studio to do some tracking. And that's where I discovered the fatal flaw of this instrument, and where I believe the fatal flaw is of all of the S2 guitars, save for one that we'll talk about later. Now, I had not had this guitar for more than 3 days when I decided I was going to bring it with me, and I was going to find a way to get this on a record that I was tracking in San Diego, California at a studio called Capricorn Studios. A lot of the songs on this record already had the CE24 on it, along with Jaguar and the JV Stratocaster, of course, so I thought the kind of single cut style guitar would find a really unique place for it, and it would definitely have a fit in a few songs here and there. So when I actually brought it in though, I've tracking through the guitar, the actual playing through experience, it's so stable, it stays in tune, it does the job great in that aspect. But when I went into the control room and we were listening back, even the engineer looked over at me, I think, or was it Dave? And he said, I think you should try that again with the other guitar, and meaning the CE24. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of hear that too. And that's when my eyes kind of got open to, I didn't love those pickups under a microscope. And it's one of those things when you're sitting and you're playing at home, it's not really as noticeable, but when you put it into the full context and you hear a really high-end guitar sound coming through the really expensive studio monitors in a really well-treated room, and you A and B it with something that's not quite as good, yeah, I mean, it was definitely the only weakness of this guitar, but it's a weakness that must be acknowledged. So I don't think it actually made it onto any of the final tracks that were used on that album. I had then decided, because I enjoyed how much this guitar played, obviously the looks of it, I'm a visual guy. If I'm attracted to a guitar and it feels comfortable to me, I'm gonna find a way to make this thing sound the way that I want it to. And I ended up going with the Lindy Fralin Pure PAF pickups. Now, out of all the pickup makers in the entire world, there is nobody that I trust more than Lindy Fralin. And this did really bring the guitar to life. But you have to think of it like this too. You have to replace all the electronics on it. If you're going to be doing this, you're going to replace in the pickups. It came without a hard case. I tacked on, I think at the end of the day here, this thing cost me around $2,400, and at that point, was it the wisest decision to go with the S2 line? I could have gotten a used core single cut for around that money, if not less, especially at the time, because that was before the serious price raises were really a thing. Now, earlier in this video, I mentioned another PRS S2 that I felt was the exception to the rule as far as needing a pickup swap, and that guitar was the pink satin S2 single cut that now belongs to the co-host of the Audiomo podcast, Dave Nelson. If he ever sells that guitar to somebody that's not me, he's out. He's gone. I'm kicking him off the podcast. I will find a new co-host because that guitar I enjoyed more than this one. The reason I ended up going for the McCarty 594 is because I wanted something on paper that would be more like a Gibson, and that was my number one mistake with this guitar. It's not the same thing. You guys see I have the Orville's in, the Orville by Gibson's in, the Edwards, the Harley Bentons, all these different kinds of Les Paul style instruments. They're all flavored very differently. The only ones that really come close to really hitting that Gibson vibe are the Orvilles. The rest of them, they're definitely their own thing, and I would say that the Paul Reed Smith single cuts and the McCarty 594s, they fall into that category as well. So, would I rebuy this guitar? No, I would not. If I was going to go this route, I would do what I initially did, and I would have bought one of the single cuts used. I spent under $1,000 for that guitar. I sold it today for exactly what it cost me, and I would have saved a boatload of money doing it that way. Or, if I wanted to spend a little bit more money, I would buy a used core, because at the end of the day, after the hard case, all the electronic swaps, and the pickups, I mean, I spent what a used core was going for at the time. So, I mean, you live, you learn. I made out all right selling that guitar, and it was to a viewer, and I really hope that that guy is still playing it and loving it, because it did play, and it was an amazing, amazing looking guitar. It just wasn't for me. So, I enjoyed doing this. Let me know in the comments down below if this is a series that you would enjoy seeing, having me back on the channel. It's just fun to me to go over these things and kind of talk myself through it. And every time I start, I'm not so sure how I'm going to answer it. But this one, I mean, yeah, I kind of knew where this was headed. However, that's all I have for you guys today. Like I said, leave a comment, like the video, subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow. We have 2 more episodes of this series planned, regardless if it's going to continue on in the future. That are going to be the next 2 Sundays. Other than that, take it easy, you guys.